All right, so we are live. So welcome everyone and happy World Oceans Day. My name is Lucia and I'm going to be your host. And all week long we have been exploring the ocean by the seat of our pants. And today is finally World Oceans Day. What our 50 hangouts this week have been leading up to. We've been hanging out with leading ocean scientists and explorers from all over the world. Now today, as I said, we're being joined by classes from Ontario and Connecticut, so Canada and the US. And we are hanging out with Alex here from Sanccob, where they rehabilitate ill, injured, oiled, and orphaned seabirds, all the way from African penguins to albatrosses to cormorants, just to name a few. Now, since 1968, Sanccob has actually admitted over 95,000 birds, which is pretty impressive. So I think it's time we can meet Alex and say hi to some birds.
Hi, good morning. Well, good day, everybody. It's morning for you guys, but it's actually afternoon for me. And as mentioned, my name is Alex. I'm the education assistant here at Sanccob. If you guys are wondering what Sanccob stands for, we stand for the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. And as mentioned, we have been doing this work for quite some time, since 1968. So this year is actually our 50th year of existence. Now, I thought I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of history, and then I'm actually going to take you on a tour of our facility, show you some of our patients, and then after that, you guys can ask me any questions. So if you guys see anything interesting or anything you want to know, please keep that with you, and then at the end, you will get an opportunity to ask. So since 1968, we have taken care of marine birds, and marine birds specifically. Since our founding, we have treated about 50 different species, our most iconic being African penguins. I'm just going to do a little bit walking while I do the talk. And since then, we've actually treated not 95,000, but actually 100,000 and over now. And it's been a very long journey. But it's only possible thanks to public support, thanks to the support of the community, not just local community, but international as well. And that's just because we're a non-profit. So we do not get any funding from our government. We run solely on donations. And through volunteers as well, they actually help assist us. So this is over here is our organization. And this very large area I was actually showing you guys is our wash and rinse bay. Now, one of the main things that we do at our center is we clean oiled birds. So that's the reason why we have this hosing over here and this gutter over here. And when we have an oiled animal or several oiled animals, we will clean them. But very difficult to be prepared for that, just because you never know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or how many animals we're going to receive in that event. So for instance, if we get 200 oiled African penguins, that would be considered a small oil spill. Our largest oil spill that we handled was the treasure oil spill. That was back in 2000. And that was the largest animal rescue event in human history. 19,000 oil birds and an additional 20,000 that we had to relocate before they got oiled. So it was 40,000 animals. Each one of those oiled animals takes about 4 people each to wash. And we're very proud. We had over a 90% release rate. But that's only thanks to all the people and all the support that we got from our government, from the local community, and the international community. Quite a lot of organizations actually came and helped us in that. Over here, we have some penguins. Now, currently I'm outside, but I'm still technically inside the hospital. These guys over here are some of our special patients. So this pen, this very fancy pen with the rocks and the plants and the trees, is called home pen. Home pen is reserved for 2 types of our patients. Our long-term patients, which means it's going to take a very long time for them to get better, sometimes half a year to a whole year to get better. And then most of the animals in here are actually permanent, which means that they cannot be released anymore back into the wild. And the reason why is because a lot of them are hurt in some way where they could not survive. So some of them, they've lost an eye, so they can't see out of one of their eyes, or um, their beaks are skew and they can't catch fish properly, or they got hit by a boat propeller, or they got bitten by a predator, so another animal that likes to eat them, and they've lost a foot or a flipper. So there's reasons why these guys are here. Another big reason why some of them are here is because if they're too tame. Now, I'm pretty sure if you guys know what tame means, it's when an animal is not afraid of people and expects to be taken care of by people. Now, that's perfectly fine for our cats and dogs at home, but for wild animals, it's not very good because they need all those skills in order to take care of themselves and look for their food and make their homes. So they need all of those skills in order to survive. So it's not good if they become tame. So that's something that we have to be very, very careful about here at the center. Because we're a marine rehabilitation facility, we have to have pools. So over here, we have some very interesting and beautiful birds swimming. These are juvenile Cape gannets. They have a speckled feather, and eventually they're going to turn pure white, and they're going to have a yellowish tinge around their necks. So we got these birds because they've fledged, which means they've left their nest. They're no longer taken care of by their parents, but they do not have the skills yet to take care of themselves. So we get a lot of them because they're hungry and they can't find enough food. If I move over here, so this is what a normal pen looks like. It's not too fancy. This guy's just about to get fed over here. So I'm going to see. So at our hospital, remember all of these guys here are weak or hurt. We have to make sure that they get better. So right now we are tubing this penguin. We are putting a tube down into his stomach, and we are then going to give him some fish formula, which is some blended fish mixed with some vitamins and minerals. So think of it like a smoothie, really. And then he is going to get some fish. So the fish, we actually, each one of our penguins over here, all our penguins in our center, they'll have about 6 to 10 fish a day. We go through about 20 to 25 boxes of fish a day, which is about 40 to 50,000 rand every week that we spend. So it's a lot. And once again, all of this is paid through by donations. So it's really only thanks to people supporting us all over the world that we can do this and save all of these amazing animals. But you'll also see that this nice young lady is also wearing protective gear. That's because all of these animals are wild, so they will bite us, they will attack us. And that's very good because it means they are still very much wild. But it's not great for our arms and our hands because obviously we'll get bite wounds, so it does hurt. It hurts quite a lot actually. These guys over here are actually our baby penguins. So our babies come to us because their parents can't look after them anymore. Um, their parents can't find enough food out in the ocean because of overfishing, so we're taking out way too much fish from the ocean and not leaving enough food for the rest of the animals. And also because of climate change. So I'm not sure if you guys know anything about climate change. So basically, climate is just a very fancy word for weather, and change is just a very fancy word for change. So it's weather change. And it's weather for the world. So the whole world's weather is changing. And it doesn't really affect the humans that badly on a daily basis. Some areas will get a lot more rain than others, and some areas, like ourselves here in Cape Town, will have drought. But the animals are more affected. They're affected on a daily basis. And how it affects our penguins It's changing the temperature of the water and also the currents and where the currents are actually moving. And that's taking the fish away from the penguins where they'd normally be found. So they have to go further and further away to go and eat them. It also means that storms are a lot stronger. So when the penguins make their nests, often their nests are destroyed because the storms are so bad nowadays as well. So there's a lot of things that are affecting these guys. And one of the main reasons, if not the only reason that we do this, is because a lot of these different types of marine birds are endangered. Now, I don't know if you guys know what endangered means, but it means that there's not a lot of them left in the world. Now, to give you some idea, our beautiful African penguins here, which are only found here in South Africa and also in a country just above us, Namibia, there used to be about 2 million of them 80 years ago, so less than one generation. Now there's only 46,000 left, which means that 98% of them are gone in one generation, less than one generation. And one of the main reasons for this is because of human things. So the pollution, the climate change, the overfishing, all of these things have a negative impact. But that's why I'm here to talk to you, boys and girls, because all of you guys can make a difference in these amazing animals' lives. You can all do things that can actually help save these guys. And I'm pretty sure every single one of you wants to save animals. Put up your hands if you want to save animals. Let's see some hands there. There we go. So, if you do want to save animals, it also has an effect on our oceans as well. So things like reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm pretty sure you guys know the three R's. So if you guys reduce what you buy, so if you ask yourself, do I really need this? Or is it just something that I just want right now? Is it something I desperately, desperately need? Or is it just something for fun? Also, reuse. So reuse can be for many different things. For instance, your shopping bags. You can always reuse your shopping bags. If you have water bottles, don't throw them away. Reuse them. And very importantly, recycle. Recycling is so important nowadays. We are all creating a large amount of rubbish, and recycling actually reduces quite a lot of that. Also, things like being careful of what you eat. So, some types of fish are actually better off in the ocean because we're taking care of them better than other types of fish. So, because we share this world with these amazing animals, it's important to make sure that there's enough for everyone to go around. Just want to introduce you. This over here is not an African penguin. This is a very beautiful rock hopper penguin. Now, they're not normally found here in Cape Town or South Africa. They usually be on islands south of us, at least halfway to Antarctica. And they usually get here because they get caught in a current, the Bagula current, or fishermen accidentally catch them in their nets. And some fishermen are superstitious. So they think that having a penguin on board is actually a good luck charm to catch more fish. So they'll keep them on board and they'll travel around with them. And then when they see land, they just like, okay, you can survive here. But they can't. So we usually get rock hoppers here, but we can't take them back home because we worry if they get a sickness here, then they'll take the sickness back home. So we usually can't release them back into the wild. But very beautiful. Her name is Rocky, by the way, and she's been with us for quite some time. She's now 10 years old. There's a lot of other penguins in here, and they have a lot of interesting stories. So, for instance, the penguin right in front of that box, which looks like she's going to go inside, that is Stubby. Stubby is here because her parents made their nest in a very bad location. They made their nest in somebody's garden, and unfortunately, the homeowners had a cat, and the cat was out hunting, And the cat actually attacked Stubby when she was just a little chick. Now, to understand how small a chick is, boys and girls, everybody take their hands, put their thumb underneath their chin, and their finger just above their nose. That is how big a penguin chick is when they are born. And they reach adult size in a month and a half. They grow so quickly. So, for instance, if you guys were penguins, if you were born this morning, you would be the size of your teachers tomorrow. That's how fast they grow. So, it is very, very quickly. So, Stubby came to us because she was attacked by a cat. And because she was attacked, she also came in with a very big infection. So, she was very, very, very sick. Now, we saved her life because obviously she's not a zombie penguin. That would be very scary. But if you look at her flippers, if you look at her flippers compared to the other penguin flippers, her flippers are a little bit shorter. And the reason why they're shorter is because she was sick when she was very, very young. So she's actually missing about 5 centimeters of her flipper, which means that she would not be able to swim very well to catch a fish or to run away from the other animals that like to eat penguins. But just because, boys and girls, if you're bad at one thing, doesn't mean you're bad at everything. Stubby loves to eat fish. She's actually amazing at it. She makes amazing friends here. And she's also one of my ambassador birds. So she usually is Skyping all around the world to teach all the learners around the world about African penguins and how amazing she is and the rest of her family here. So these animals, they are simply amazing, but there's a lot of things that are having such a negative effect on them. And every single one of you, all of you guys can help. And if you guys help by recycling, by reusing and reducing, by being careful of what you eat, by researching on what you can change. And for instance, if you guys stop using straws, I don't know if you guys know about the issue with straws, but straws are actually very, very bad. Straws are non recyclable, which means that even if you take them to a recycling center, they don't know what to do with them and they'll usually just throw them away. Now, to us, it's just a straw. But to a bird, a straw looks like an amazing material to use for their nests and to build their nests. I'm pretty sure everybody there knows the story of the three little pigs. The one pig makes his house out of straw, the other pig makes his house out of sticks, and the smart one out of bricks. So the straws just look like a great material to build better housing and better homes for their babies. But sometimes they accidentally swallow the straws and it gets stuck in their throat. And if they're lucky, they will then come to our hospital and we will operate on them and we will take the straw out and then we will release them back into the wild. So if you guys just stop using straws and instead you guys can just pick up your glass or your can, or you guys can use reusable straws, or you can use glass straws or bamboo straws, or you can use a plastic straw, but just don't throw it away. You do that. Every single one of you will save tens of thousands of animals. And to me, that just means that you guys are going to be superheroes because if you're saving lives, that means that you guys are superheroes. Okay, I think I have talked enough. I don't want to get too boring. So, guys, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me.
Yeah, so we can move on to the question part of our hangout. Thank you, Alex, for taking us around and showing us all the penguins. And I'm very happy there's no such thing as zombie penguins because that would be very scary. But we can start with Miss Cochran's class. So I can unmute you guys. And yeah, we can ask your question. So the kids can't be on camera, but we can hear what you will ask.
Hi, my name is Papa.
Hi there. Yes, I can hear you.
Speak loud.
Are you guys still gonna be saving penguins?
Yes, we will always save penguins. We've been trying to save penguins since 1968. It's just there's a lot of things that we can't help nowadays, like the ships that spill the oil and the people that drop plastic. So that's why I'm here to teach you guys all about it and to make sure that if you guys stop doing it and if you tell all your friends and your family, then you're actually helping us all the way here in South Africa. So even if you guys do something in your country, it doesn't matter because you're helping nature. And if you help nature there, you're helping nature everywhere. So I think it's very, very important. Cool.
All right, so we move on to Miss Blanchard's class. Do you guys have a question?
Yeah.
Is the different type of looking penguin the king?
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
Is the different looking penguin than all the others the king?
Oh, is the different looking penguin from all the others the king?
Okay, the rockhopper. What would you like to know about the rockhopper?
I think he was wondering, is that the king of the penguins?
Oh no, not the king penguin. So she is a northern rockhopper. There are actually 18 different types of penguins in the world, if you guys didn't know. And there's a very big misunderstanding. Everybody thinks that most penguins are found in very snowy and icy and cold places. That is not the case. Only 4 of the 18 different types of penguins actually live in those kind of conditions. The rest of them are in more warmer places like South America and Australia and New Zealand and a lot of the islands in the southern hemisphere. Even there's one penguin that lives near the equator. Now, these penguins are all different sizes and they have different ways of behaving and taking care of themselves. Um, but you do get quite large penguins. So, for instance, the largest, the emperor penguin, is as big as you kids right there. So, if you guys were standing up, they would be as big as you are. So, the emperor penguins, they live in Antarctica and they have to be that big because they have to keep all the warmth in and they have to huddle together to keep warm. But if you look over here with these penguins, they're not huddling together at all. It's quite warm on this side. So they don't have to do that. Very good question. Thank you.
All right, so we can move on to Miss Schickler's class.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
What is your job like for in the penguin hospital? What do you most?
Okay, so as I said, I am basically like a teacher here. So at the moment, if you look around, because I've been just showing the penguins, but if you look around, there's this wooden walling over there. We're currently building a whole new hospital. We've already demolished about 60% of our old hospital. And then over here, we have this white building. So that over there is our new hospital facility. It's like 2 new operating theaters, 3 ICU rooms, X-ray room, everything actually. But it also means that we're closed. So before we were closed, I was responsible for doing all the tours. So anybody that walks in, I would show them around the center. Also, all the school groups. So the schools used to come visit us, as well as we go out to the schools. We go to other places like libraries, we go to old age homes. We also do things like this hangout. So we do Skype lessons and hangouts and Zoom. And this is all to create awareness. This is all to make people know of what's happening with these animals and how they can help us save them. The other reason is that we also have to make some money as well. So the money goes to buying more fish and medicine. So the tours and everything like that, that's all donation to come and save more animals. So that's basically it. So we usually sell stuff at our shop. We also do education adoptions, where you can adopt a penguin, things like that.
Awesome. So our other class dropped out, so now we're down to 2 classes, so you guys get to ask more questions, which is good. So we'll go back to Miss. Also, if anyone's watching on YouTube Live, there's a comment box, and you can ask questions on there, and I can ask them on live as well. But Miss Blanchard's class, do you guys have a second question?
Do you have any warm-blooded penguins, and do you change the water temperature for them?
Okay, so penguins, they are warm-blooded. They are birds. They do have an amazing waterproofing coating because they actually spend more time in the water than on land. So that's just because they're traveling around, they're looking for fish. And because of that, they have to ensure that they don't get too cold. Now, that's something we have to check at our hospital. That's one of the final tests we do. They have to have 100% waterproof feathers. And how we do that is when they're swimming in these pools and they come out of the pool, we pick them up and we go past their waterproof layer to their downy layer, which is another layer of feathers, which is more for warmth. And we check that that hasn't gotten wet, and we look at their skin. So if their skin is white, it means it hasn't gotten wet. But if it's pink, it means it has. So we have to check for things like that. The water temperature, we don't. Well, it's usually normal tap temperature. So it's actually not too cold. It's actually warmer than what it would be in the oceans. But you must also remember that these animals, they're standing outside when there's storms, rainstorms, and it's windy and everything. So they're very hardy as a bird species. So they're very good at what they do. Thank you very much. That's a great question.
All right, so we'll jump out to the next question. I see you're ready for your question over there in Ms. Schickler's class. So go for it.
Do you have another location, or is this your only location in Africa?
Okay, so at the moment, this is our oldest facility. This is 34 years old. We're found in Table View in Cape Town. It's about 30 minutes away from Table View. Just going to quickly walk into our education room. Just want to show you a little bit there. There we go. And we do have 2 others. One in St. Francis, in the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth. Those 2 facilities are recent. Very important because most of the African penguins are found at St. Croix Island and Bird Island there, about 49% of the total population. So it's very important that we have facilities there. But unfortunately, because we don't have a lot of funding and money, we can't have places all over the place as well. So I'm just in the education room right now. I'm just having a look at some of the taxidermy that we have here. So if we have a look, these are some of the species we get. This very big, beautiful bird over here is a wandering albatross. We will get them on very rare occasions, but they are deep ocean birds, so they're not normally found near the coast. And they spend the majority of their life in the air as well. Other things that we get, things like our Cape cormorants, our white-breasted cormorants, a number of seagulls and terns. I think I'm just going to quickly go into admissions if I can. Oh, just want to quickly show you. So those birds that were swimming in the pool, eventually they're going to look like this. So this is what an adult Cape gannet looks like. Very beautiful bird. It also doesn't have any nostrils on its beak, and that's just because it hits the water at a maximum speeds of 120 kilometers an hour. So I don't know if you guys use kilometers an hour. If you guys use miles, then you guys have homework. You guys can convert that. But it is very, very fast. Just going to quickly see.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that.
We have to wave goodbye and say thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
so
you guys.
we have a few questions from online. So just
All
how
right.
long have you been helping the birds, and how many penguins have you saved, and what is the temperature of the water?
Okay, so yes, definitely we're helping the birds. you guys look over here, these are all the species you expect to get in a year. So our African penguins, Cape cormorants, reed cormorants, bank cormorants, crown cormorants, white-breasted cormorants, African darters, Cape gannets, scalp all of these species, the number next to them is the name they're given here. Because on average, we get about 2,500 animals every year in a non-oil spill year. So we can't name them all. That's a bit, I mean, like imagine Steve and Samantha. No. So we give them numbers instead. So the very next African penguin is going to be our 143rd African penguin. And then we just reset that when we're in the next year. The other question, how many African penguins or how many animals we've saved? So 100,000 since our founding, and we're still going to continue doing so. Of course, everybody here would love to be out of work because it means that there's nothing wrong with the animals in the wild, but unfortunately that is not the case. And then the water temperature, I'm honestly not too sure. It's tap temperature, so I don't know what temperature would be, but yeah.
Awesome. All right, Miss Blanchard's class, you have another question you guys want to ask?
I don't think so. I think Bradley?
Why do the emperor penguins have yellow on them and they're different from other penguins?
Why do the rockhoppers have yellow on them or African penguins? Because the rockhoppers that have yellow on them.
He asked about the emperor penguins that have yellow on them.
Oh, okay. That's actually a very interesting question. I am honestly more aware of African penguins than other species because that's the one species that we usually handle. I will tell you some interesting facts with the yellow around their eyes. So the longer that is, the older the individual. So when they molt, it actually comes out and they actually grow longer feathers. And then I think it's also to do with the fact that they know when they can actually find a wife or a husband. But I am not entirely sure, so I don't know if I'm correct or not, but that's actually a really great question to do some research on and to find out for yourself. Anything else, guys?
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say online we have someone asking, how old is your oldest penguin that you have there?
Okay. So our oldest penguin is Flo. She's been here since 1990. So she's been here now for about, it's now 2018, it's about 19 years here, plus or minus. She's around about 21 years old. So normal lifespan of a penguin, our African penguin, is about 20 to 25 years. It has gone down now because of the climate change and the overfishing and the pollution to about 10 to 15 years. But the oldest African penguin in the European zoo was 44 years of age. But that's just because they were taken care of very well. Cool.
Awesome. Do you guys have another question? Your hands popping up there?
How young is the youngest penguin?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Yeah, can you say that again?
How young is the youngest penguin that you have?
The youngest penguin would still be in their eggs, and they would be in our chick rearing unit. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi won't allow me to get all the way on that side. However, I can show you what one of our smallest chicks would look like. I'd have to go back to my office, though. So I will. Okay. Just getting online. So Okay. This is a video of us feeding one of our smallest individuals in our chick rearing unit. So the introduction of our new was the newest addition to our hospital. So we're just tubing, we're just giving him some fish formula. So remember, they grow very, very quickly. So that's all supplement for them to get as strong as possible. But not a lot of people are allowed inside this part of the hospital because we have to keep it very, very clean. So it's only really the chick rearers that are allowed to go inside over here. And we get several hundred abandoned chicks every year because of the overfishing, because of the climate change. And if Sanccob didn't do this, these guys would not be eating out in the wild. Their parents would not be able to take care of them. So to give you some example, we got 970. Oh, sorry, just lost video there.
Hand lotion by any chance, do you? What's the green one? Yeah.
Okay, let me just go back. Let's see if that works. Here we go. So basically, these guys, if we weren't here, they wouldn't be able to take care of themselves. We got 979 chicks in 2016. And every single one of these guys has to be fed every 3 hours. The first feeding at 6 a.m. in the morning, the last feeding at 9 p.m. at night. And between that, we have to give them things like water for hydration. We have to give them darrows, which is like electrolyte solutions like Energade, fish formula, and we're actually the first organization in the world to hatch, raise, and release penguins back into the wild. But when we started, it means that we had nothing to base it off on, so it was very trial and error for us. Well, just that. And our success rate is now fairly good. It's actually very, very good. So, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's vital because each one of these chicks is now a very important part of the equation of their species because there's so few of them out in the wild. I think I am running out of time now, guys. So I think I'm going to say goodbye to you.
Totally understand. You can want to take a little break before your next hangout in 20 minutes. Take the time to spend with us. Thanks, guys, for sticking around. Asking some great questions.
Thanks.
Guys, thank you very much.
Bye.